Welcome to the second video of the IB Business Management sort of cluster of videos. Today I'm going to be looking at section 1.2, which is called Types of Organizations. This video is for exams that follow 2024, so first exam 2024. So first we need to learn the distinction between a public sector and a private sector. So the public sector is owned and funded by the government. So what the public sector does is sort of provide, I don't know, public lights, like merit goods, like education, etc. What the private sector is, it's just owned by individuals or groups of individuals. And it can be for profit, non for profit, but the idea is it is not owned by the government. Now, what the advantages and disadvantages of these two are? Well, the advantage of a public sector is that the sort of main goal is to help the people. You know, it is not for profit or for like the benefit of the government itself. Mostly, its main goal is benefiting the people. On the other hand, its disadvantage is the fact that they sort of have no incentive to be cost efficient, to innovate, etc. They are not for profit, or they don't want to raise revenue, etc. They sort of know that they will like continue, and like there is no sort of risk for them if they're not cost efficient, etc. So innovation and sort of cost efficiency doesn't occur in that case. And the opposite is the case for the private sector. There, the sort of main reason for the business is usually like profit or whatever, but they are very efficient. They can bring innovation, etc. And now we're gonna look at the four types of organizations. So first we have the sole trader, and a sole trader is sort of just a person who has a business. It is one person. So for example, remember when you made slimes in middle school and then you would sell them to your friends? You were a sole trader. And a sole trader is by definition unincorporated, and they have an unlimited liability. What do these things mean? So an incorporated business is a business that has a separate legal identity. So for example, if you think of Facebook, Facebook has a separate legal identity from its owners. So if you think like, I don't know who owns it, like Elon Musk, I think, I don't know, whoever owns it, I'm gonna say Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a separate legal thing from Facebook. For example, if you were to sue like if Facebook did you wrong in some sort of way and you wanted to sue them, you wouldn't sue Elon Musk. You would sue Facebook as like a legal body. If you're into words, corpse, like a body. So incorporated means like in body, like making a body. And so in terms of a sole trader, they're unincorporated. There's no separate legal identity. The person is the business. If you did someone wrong within your little slime business, they would sue you directly. They wouldn't sue the slime business because it's the same thing in terms of law. And this links to unlimited liability. So when you're unincorporated, that means that you completely risk losing your personal possessions in the case that your business sort of has problems with paying off loans. So liability is the extent to which you risk losing your personal possessions in terms of failure of business. And when it is unlimited, that means unlimited risk, like complete risk. So those are the two things. What are some benefits of being a sole trader? Quick decision making, no conflict. Negatives: hard to raise loan capital. Banks won't be really willing to lend to you like any differently than they would be when lending to you as a person. So you can't just go to a bank and ask for $1 million, because there is like a high risk of failure in that case. And there is also no continuity of the business. So the business will die as soon as you die, because you basically are the business. Next is the partnership. So this is very similar to a sole trader. You are still unincorporated and there is still unlimited liability, but it is an association of 2 to 20 individuals. I don't know if this is like a genuine thing, but that's what it says in the sort of online in resources. So just a group of people that are like just having a business, but the business is not a separate legal identity. Good things that arise from this is that you can sort of you all have some sort of money that you can invest into the business. So sort of initial finance is easier, because like it's better than with a sole trader. And loan capital is still relatively hard to find, but you can also share sort of expertise or ideas within the business. And there is also a higher chance of continuity, because if one person dies, the other people can still carry on the business and so forth. And maybe as time goes on, new partners, like new younger partners arise, and it can sort of just like people will die off and the business will continue. Negatives, again, are hard to raise capital, and maybe conflict. I don't know if I said this already, but definitely conflict with sort of like sharing profits, etc. And then we have companies. So companies are businesses that are incorporated. So they have a separate legal identity. Examples is anything you can think of. Apple, McDonald's, anything. You can, like, any like big companies that you can think of that are not like your local like small grocery store or like your local coffee shop. Those all will be incorporated. And in that case, the sort of ownership is split between the people that own the shares of the company. And these people are called shareholders. And these shareholders get dividends. So that's a proportion of the profit that is paid to them. And that's like the sort of return for their ownership. And so these shareholders, however, because the business is incorporated and has a separate legal identity, they have limited liability. And what this means is that the only amount of money or possessions that they risk when like being an owner of the business is the value of the shares that they like have. For example, if I go and I buy $2 worth of Apple shares, and then Apple gets into like financial problems and they have to pay off a loan, no one is going to come to my house knocking on my door asking me for I broke my pen for like to pay off this like large loan. The only thing that I'm going to lose is the $2 that I had initially invested. And so that's what limited liability means. And now companies split into two like different types: publicly held and privately held. So publicly held companies are companies in which the shares are offered on an official stock exchange sort of market. And how this is done is that the company does an initial public offering. They offer a portion of their shares or all of their shares on the stock exchange, and anyone can sort of buy them, trade them easily from like a phone app. And what arises from this is that for the business, it is very easy to sort of raise money from like selling shares. But what can also happen is that someone buys off like a very large proportion of shares, and then they sort of can take over the company. They can like influence the decisions because the uh, sort of the way the business is ran, an incorporated business is ran, is that there's a sort of board of directors which includes like the main shareholders. So Apple, for example, will have like, I don't know, 1,000 different like millions of different like shareholders with like small proportions, but they all won't meet and decide for the company. There will be like 5 people maybe that have like 20, 30, whatever percent, and they will make decisions. So if, for example, we offer 60% of shares on the stock exchange and someone buys off that 60%, then they sort of have the right to make the decisions more than we do because we only own 40%. So that's a sort of risk of like losing ownership. And then with privately held companies, sort of opposite is true. So our shares are not on the stock exchange. The only way you can sort of acquire shares is if you directly contact the current shareholders or the owners and you ask them, look, can you sell me some shares of your company and can I become like a partial owner, right? And so it's very hard to sort of get the shares and also to sell the shares because you have to find a person to sell them to. You can just do it on like the stock exchange like app. And so the benefits of this are that you have a lot more privacy because with a publicly held company, you need to share public a lot of financial information. That is the case also with privately held companies, but with publicly held companies, even more information has to be published. And another thing is also the control. You completely control who is the, like, if you have 100%, then you can keep your 100% unless you like directly decide to share it, to sell it. But it is a lot harder to sort of raise capital through selling shares because you can't just like go and sell 60% of your shares on an app where people will buy it. So the fourth type is social enterprises. And what social enterprises are defined by is that their main goal is sort of social well-being, just doing good in the world. And that's the primary goal. It doesn't mean that the business is not making money or that like making profit is not one of their goals. It just means that the main goal is the well-being. And so they then split into for-profit and non-profit. For-profit are businesses that make profit so they can keep running and like pay some of its like owners, but their main goal is social well-being. And so they can be private or public. So, for example, a government is a social and for-profit social enterprise in the public sector. That's a government because they make profit, so they can sell whatever. And their main goal is to do good for the people, and they're owned and funded by the government. In terms of private, I don't know what an example would be, but for example, like a charity that also like makes profit for the owners. And then we have cooperatives. And what cooperatives are is it's an association of people that unite to meet some of their like common economic, social, or whatever needs through like a jointly owned and democratically like ran enterprise. So let's say we live in a small village and there is no grocery store in our village, and me and you and some other like neighbors, we decide to set up a grocery store where the main goal is so that we will provide food for ourselves, and we will own this together. We will split the profits equally, etc. And yeah, and we'll make some profit. We'll make some profit, but our main goal is to satisfy our social needs. And then non-profit social enterprises are non-government organizations, and yeah, it's just they do it for social well-being, but no profit, just costs paid, etc. So yeah, that's it. Oh, well, last thing, if you see a INC behind like a name of a company, you now know what it means. It means it's incorporated. It has a separate legal identity.